Hi! Today I wanted to show you one of my roses. I did notice that it seems to be affected by some pests. So I did want to show you what the rose looks like and the damage that can be caused by the pests. This rose next to me, it looks to me like it has thrips, so that's not very desirable. So I will show you the damage, what it looks like, the damage that's caused by it, and then how I would recommend getting rid of the pests. So let me zoom up on the rose and I'll show you what it looks like. So this poor little rose is a Floribunda, Easy does it, I believe. And you can see I should have checked the foliage. And you can see the foliage here, it looks bad. This is bugs, little bugs eating the juice out of the tender leaves and the bloom. So typically they're going to start with the bloom because that is probably their favorite part, and then they would move into the foliage. So yeah, this is probably a lot of insect damage. It kind of makes me sad, but that's okay. We'll get it under control. But see here, this is the bud. They basically ate out all of the good bits and left it dry. So we really do not want bugs, pests, because they typically do suck out the blooms. And we probably got the rose to have nice big blooms, so we don't like this at all. This makes me very sad. But I will talk about how I am going to treat this. So this is another rose next to the Floribunda I was just showing you, and this one also has, all of these over here seem to have the insect damage, and that's pretty common if you have rose bushes next to one another. You know, they're gonna travel on to the next bush all around. So the bushes that I have further away, they're really not as affected by this, but this is really bad. Bad owner not checking up. You can see it's still bloomed, but these edges are brown. So if you start to see like browning like this, and just in the petals, because that's usually where they start, is with the bloom, then this is probably an insect problem. So you'll probably want to spray then. That way you don't get this mess, this terrible, monstrous mess of ruined foliage as well. So, but yeah, usually they would kind of suck the bloom dry, like this one, and so like these are not going to open. They've ruined these, and then so if you get something kind of like this, probably insect damage, because they sucked out the juice and then left, so then it kind of dries out and browns up. So that is not good. So over here, this looks a lot better. So like this leaf looks good, and hopefully it stays looking good, but this is what you would want the new growth to look like. Even this is getting crinkly, so I would say this has a little bit of damage on it. But overall, this isn't too bad. I still want to spray it. So for an insect problem, I would obviously, or not obviously, recommend getting some sort of insecticide. They do come in a couple of different varieties and types. I know they make it where you can water it in, so basically it's a liquid or a granule, and you can apply it to the base of the rose and water it in, and this is supposed to be absorbed up through the roots into the foliage and take care of the pest problem that way. I've tried a couple of them and I wasn't the biggest fan. I've had the best luck using just normal, just spray. So you'll spray it onto the foliage, straight onto the foliage yourself. That is what I would recommend using. So when I went to the nursery in the spring, I did notice that a lot of the roses there had aphids, like very noticeable aphids all over the plant. I tried to get ones with the fewest number of aphids, and I tried to kind of take them off and kill them, but I do think when I bought those plants from the nursery, I do think I brought some pests home with them, because that is when I noticed that I had a lot more aphids than I normally would, and then I also noticed some thrips last year. So I went to the Lowe's and I looked for my typical spray that I would use, the insecticide spray that I would normally use, and I think I couldn't find it. And what I found instead was this. And I thought, oh, okay, this looks great. 3-in-1, perfect. Kills insects, controls fungus, great. So this, and then it's for organic gardening. So I thought, well, that'll be nice, not spraying myself full of harmful chemicals every time I spray for bugs. And when I saw the thrips again this fall, I went to go pick this up and I started spraying it, and I remember that I do not like this. I don't think it worked at all. In fact, I had a really bad worm or caterpillar problem on my mountain laurel, and I remember spraying this on the mountain laurel. I did check, and it did say that this would work on caterpillars. And so I sprayed this all over my mountain laurel. I drenched my mountain laurel bottles of this, and yeah, it was covered. It remained covered in caterpillars, and I had no new foliage or growth on that mountain laurel because it was just overrun with caterpillars. So I went back to the store and I found the 7, which is a very nice chemical, and when I sprayed the 7 onto the mountain laurel, it immediately took care of all the caterpillars on the spot. And in fact, they haven't even come back yet. So this works. This works, bottom line. The other brand that I have used before, very common to see in the store, is this, and this also does work. So these are not organic. They are traditional, chemical insecticides. So they're not probably terribly good for you, but these will truly knock out your insect problem. So one thing that I do want to say, if you are ever going to apply something to the foliage of the rose, to the leaves directly on them, you really do not want to do it in direct sunlight. So you're going to want to do it very early morning or in the evening. Another thing that you may want to look for when you are buying the insecticide is the applicator. So a lot of them are going to have this like hand spray, and that's fine. It obviously will work, but if you have a lot that you need to spray, it can get kind of tiresome, and this bottle won't last very long. So they do have ones that will connect directly to a hose, like this one here, and then you can just turn it on, and it'll continuously spray. So if you have a larger area like I do, you may want to look for something like this. So I'll spray it with the chemical, and then I will be checking. You definitely want to check your new foliage. So anything that's growing in brand new, you want to check it and make sure that it is not showing signs of any bug activity. If it is, I like to have just like the regular spray bottle and just do maintenance with something small like this. Typically, once you spray the whole thing, they're only really going to come back on the new foliage, because that's usually what pests like, is the nice succulent young tender leaves. They can and will come back, but if you do notice and spray them early, they shouldn't get to be a full-blown issue in your yard. Even if the rose does get aphids or thrips or whatever, the plant is very hardy, and it will just get the pests under control. They'll bounce back and they'll start blooming. So it's not a huge worry. It's just that you do want to look for and identify them. Okay, so it has been about a week since I showed you the little issues that I had with the thrips. So since then I have treated. I treated using this. So I hooked this up to a hose, and then I sprayed all of my roses with this, and I did this on Friday, and then I did it again on Sunday, just to make sure that I did get everything sprayed really well. So I did apply this twice. I also have been applying this, so this one is just a regular spray. So after I treated with the 7, with the hookup to the hose, that one I sprayed blanket all over everything. And then this one, this is just a little spray bottle. I did concentrate on like the new foliage, the new growth. I'm going to show you how they are doing now that I've treated, and it's been about a week. So this is my Grande Dame, and you can see it's got a lot of new growth on it, and the new growth is looking pretty good. This back here, this was growth from when the bugs were on it, eating it. So this did get sprayed, but obviously it's not going to mend the leaves that already have damage. So this was an older shoot that did get kind of attacked. And you can see here these newer shoots, the newer growth down here, doesn't have any wrinkles in it, so it's looking really nice. So it did work on this one. This is another example down here. The leaves are all crinkled, eaten up, smaller, underdeveloped, and this foliage is much better. Okay, so this is another one of my roses. This one is called Falling in Love, and this one did have quite a bit of bug damage. You can see this down here. Wasn't looking too sharp, but this next to it I've sprayed, and it's looking a lot better. This will eventually turn into a bloom, and just overall the new growth is looking a lot better. This is more of like a fertilizer issue. I have started to fertilize again, so it should get the foliage greener, but overall, as far as bugs go, this is looking much better, clearly. Again, another example where the bugs got to it, and then I've sprayed, treated, and this is starting to look better. And then, so this would be obviously the older growth, and then the newer growth is getting better. And like I said, I was still spot treating, just because when you spray, you're not going to get every single bug eliminated from your yard. So I did spray, and spraying is going to eliminate most of the problem. However, there's still going to be, some bugs left, and they're going to want to go for like the new foliage. And the insecticide typically lasts It'll say on the bottle it'll depend from insecticide to insecticide, but it does get on the leaves and it does last. However, this new foliage is growing in, brand new, so it hasn't been treated, and because I have had a lot of issues with bugs this year, I am wanting to spray the new foliage just to make sure it is treated and none of the remaining critters are getting to the new foliage. So this is one of the new roses that I planted. This is actually the one that I did in how to plant a container rose, and you can see it looks really, really good. None of the foliage has gotten bug damage on it, and that is because, well, it was brand new, not sitting in my yard for most of the year, but I did spray it just to be safe. And you can see it didn't, even though it's a brand new rose, it didn't do any harm. It's still growing, still looking good. It even has, I think this is going to be its first bud, which I'm excited about. So when this does bloom, I'll show you what it looks like. So this is my Easy Does It, and I think this was kind of like the epicenter of the bug issues. And you can see it still doesn't look very good. It still has a lot of crinkle growth, and I did spray this. I sprayed this just as much as I sprayed the other ones, but I think there were more of them over here, so I think, you know, the more you've got, the more I'll probably have to spray, but not looking very good. However, I am keeping my eye on it, and anything that is like a new growth, like these here, I am being diligent, especially with this one, trying to spray it. Yeah, so this one is just, it hasn't really bounced back yet like the other ones have. I do expect it to. I'll just give it time, and again, I'm going to keep my eye on it and make sure that it's sprayed so that it gives it a good opportunity to start growing nice looking new growth. So again, I will do an update on this guy and the rest of my roses, so if you would like to see that, please do subscribe. Thank you.